His divine grace, please, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, to the Prabhupada ki jai. Gora Prahladananda, Slava Kutani Bhakta, Slava Shri Guru, Shri Gora. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Auravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Sringavari Paschatya Om Agyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uddha Bhadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vidam Tham Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitanscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Digapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kachina Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwavana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Dhruvyaschа Kripa Sindhu Vedacha Adidana Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prahladananda Chaitanya Gadadhar Srivasadi Gora Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm going to read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Leela, chapter 12, about Advaita Acharya, and this is text number 8. Pratame Taika Mata Acharya Gana Acharya Gana Pache Dui Mata Haila Kaivera Karana. All the followers of Advaita Acharya share this single opinion. So later they follow two different opinions as ordained by Providence. So everyone repeat please. At first. Okay, we'll try that again. At first.
At first.
Very good. All the followers of Advaita Acharya share the single opinion. But later, they followed two different opinions.
They followed two different opinions.
As ordained by Providence. So these Srila Prabhupada's purport, will tell us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. So it's good to know what we should do, and it's also good to know what we shouldn't do. Because then we'll make sure we do what we're supposed to be doing. So the words Daivera Karna indicate that by dint of providence or by God's will, the followers of Advaita Acharya divided into two parties. Such disagreement among the disciples of one acharya is also found among the members of the Gaudiya Math. In the beginning, during the presence of Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Paramajakacharya, Ashtataras, Shaka, Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Quite a bit there. All the disciples worked in agreement, but just after his disappearance, they disagreed. One party strictly followed the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but another group created their own concoction about executing his desires. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at the time of his departure, requested all his disciples to form a governing body and conduct missionary activities cooperatively. Has anyone ever heard that word cooperatively before? Where did we hear the word cooperatively?
On your class.
What's that?
On your class.
Well, what did Srila Prabhupada say about cooperation? Yeah. But specifically, what did Srila Prabhupada tell Tama Krishna Maharaj? Yes.
You will show how much you appreciate me by collaboration with each other.
Yeah. Something like that. Your love for me will be shown by how you keep this movement together after my disappearance. He did not instruct a particular man to become the next acharya. But just after his passing away, his leading secretaries made plans without authority to occupy the post of acharya, and they split into two factions over who the next acharya would be. Consequently, both factions were asara, or useless, because they had no authority, having disobeyed the order of the spiritual master. Despite the spiritual master's order to form a governing body and execute the missionary activities of the Gaudiya Math, the two unauthorized factions began litigation that is still going on after 40 years with no decision. Did they make a decision yet? It's still going on. What's that? Might still be going on. Therefore, we do not belong to any faction, but because the two parties, busy dividing the material assets of the Gaudiya Math institution, stopped the preaching work, we took up the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world, under the protection of all the predecessor acharyas, and we find that our humble attempt has been successful. We follow the principles especially explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita verse beginning Yavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. According to this instruction of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is the duty of a disciple to follow strictly the orders of his spiritual master. The secret of success in spiritual life is the firm faith of the disciple in the orders of his spiritual master. What did we read yesterday? What is the secret of spiritual advancement? Anyone know? Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. And here Prabhupada says, the secret of success and advancement in spiritual life is the firm faith of the disciple and the orders of the spiritual master. The Vedas confirm this. Yasya deve para bhaktira, tata deve tata guru, tasyate kahita, yadartha prakashante mahatmanaha. One who has staunch faith in the words of the spiritual master and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the secret of success in Vedic knowledge is revealed. The Krishna consciousness movement is being propagated according to this principle. and therefore our preaching work is going on successfully in spite of the many impediments offered by the antagonistic demons. Because we're getting positive help from our previous acharyas. One must judge every action by its result. The members of the self-appointed acharya's party who occupy the property of the Gaudiya Math are satisfied, but they could make no progress in preaching. Therefore, by the result of their actions, we should know that they are asara, or useless. Whereas the success of the ISKCON party, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which strictly follows Guru and Gauranga, is increasing daily all over the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to print as many books as possible and distribute them all over the world. We have tried our best in this connection, and we are getting results beyond our expectations. So the verse again. Pratame kaika mata acharya pache tu dui mata haila tadera karan. At first, all the followers of Advaita Acharya shared a single opinion, but later they followed two different opinions as ordained by Providence. Namo Vishnu Graya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tiramane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bhucharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasatyade Siddharne. This is one of Prabhupada's major points, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yavasayatmaka buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahu shaka yanantascha buddhyo vyavasayina. Those who are on this path, their resolute purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. In other words, our process is called Buddhi Yoga. And what is that Buddhi Yoga? Activities in Krishna consciousness are called Buddhi Yoga. With our intelligence, we can connect with Krishna. And without the intelligence to connect with Krishna, then our intelligence is misled. Just like I've given that example, that a man is walking down the street and he sees an attractive woman, and immediately his mind and senses say, go get her. And the intelligence says, wait a second, she has a dot on her forehead, she might be married. But the mind and senses say, oh, don't listen to this so-called intelligence. You know, it's old-fashioned, it was from some book that no one reads anymore, it was in some language no one understands. And actually the philosophy is, if you feel like it, then you do it. So the soul, depending upon how much intelligence, spiritual intelligence it has, if it has sufficient spiritual intelligence, then the soul thinks, wait a second. But if it doesn't have sufficient spiritual intelligence, then the soul tells the intelligence, my dear intelligence, stop giving me philosophy and do something practical. Think of a way to meet her. So the intelligence says, well, write her a letter, tell her she's the most beautiful person you've seen, and in very small print put in the last 2 weeks. Tell her you're madly in love with her, you want to meet her at such and such time, in such and such place, and you'll give her the sun, you'll give her the moon, you'll give her all the stars if she's nice to you. But don't sign the letter, because there's a man next to her, and he's twice as big as you are. So that's one way of using the intelligence, to figure out a way. The intelligence can give us direction of what we have to do to gratify the senses. On the other hand, if one is actually in Krishna consciousness, as I said the other day, if we have some preliminary knowledge, for instance, what the laws of karma are, how the material nature is working, how material nature is affecting us, then as soon as we forget Krishna, as long as we're not ecstatically thinking about Krishna, then we'll be bored. We'll be looking for some other source of happiness. And naturally we'll look around and see if there's something that I can enjoy in the material world and what it's going to cost me. And therefore, as soon as we have that mentality, is there something to enjoy and what it's going to cost, and immediately Maya will enthuse us with lust. Yes, that's the one, that you'll be happy forever, and it's going to be real romance. And then if we enjoy, then we become even more lusty. Then we become greedy. It's like eating an ice cream cone. As more you eat, the more anxiety you get that it's disappearing. And you're hoping you can get another one. And so from greed, eventually, the ice cream runs out, or the love affair, what turned out to be courting, in English is courting, winds up in court. So that's called anger. You did this, no, you did that, you were... And then what happens from anger? A whole drama unfolds. And what is that drama? Well, each one of us are living in that drama. That's called material existence. We're actually, whatever drama we're going through is all on the basis of our past activities of lust, anger, and greed. And they produce something called material consciousness, which is the drama that we're presently going through. Where somehow or another my body is some kind of hero or heroine in some great drama that's going on called my pastimes in the material world. Unfortunately, the fools, they deride my descending in this human-like form. They don't know my transcendental nature and my gradually becoming the supreme controller of all that is. And therefore their hopes for liberation, their freedom activities, and their culture of knowledge will all be defeated. On the other hand, if we use our intelligence, then the intelligence tells us, spiritual intelligence, that that's a nice man, that's a nice woman. Why don't you go up to them and tell them a Bhagavad Gita? Tell them how nice they are, how they're attractive they are, and then try to engage them in Krishna's service. So that's called spiritual intelligence. That I'm actually Krishna's servant, and, as I said yesterday, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the same thing as Lord Krishna said. It was no real difference. It's not that 5,000 years later or 4,500 years later, Krishna changed his mind. After saying, give up everything and surrender, then what are you supposed to do? After surrender, what is the next activity? Then Krishna says, Ya idam paramam guyam, mad bhakteshva vidashruti, bhakti mayi param gritva, mame vaishat samshaya. After surrender, there are actually activities, and then Krishna says, in this world, there's no one more dear to me than one who preaches this message to my devotees. And nor in the future shall anyone be more dear than them. In other words, anyone who's taking part in the missionary activities of the Krishna consciousness movement becomes very dear to Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not only he repeated the same message, but he himself created the Sankirtan movement. It wasn't just words, but he formed a movement based upon the practical objective of how to give people the opportunity to hear about Krishna. And he himself personally went around and told people about Krishna. He just didn't say everyone should talk about Krishna, but he actually showed, he preached to the Mayavadis, to Prahladananda Saraswati, he preached to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he made them into devotees. He preached to the animals and got them to chant. He preached to the Tattvavadis. He preached to the Buddhists. He preached to all kinds of people and got them to hear about Krishna. Of course, at first, for the general mass of people, he got them to chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. And for those who were a little bit more scholastic, he gave them philosophy, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prahladananda Saraswati. And others he gave philosophy, like the Tattvavadis, the Madhvacharyas. Others, more intimate, then he talked about Radha and Krishna's pastimes. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not the same philosophy whoever he met. It was exactly according to the audience and the time and the place. But ultimately, his process is Jnane Priyasam Udapastanamanteva Jivanti Sanmukaritam Pavitiya Bhartam Stane Sita Shutivitam Dharavam Manovira Ye Priyasa Jito Yaisisi Taistrilokya. The first process is simply the same thing as Namanta. Just realize that we are in a delusional state. Anyone who thinks they're doing all right, then no one in our disciple succession is very encouraging about their future. Anyone who thinks that they're doing fine, they just need more of what they already have, that everything will be all right. Whether it be Lord Brahma or Queen Kunti, who said actually the biggest impediment in our spiritual advancement is not what we don't have, it's what we think we have, because when we want to get more of it. We want more wealth, we want more beauty, we want more influence, we want more and more and more. Then it's very difficult to hear submissively, because we'll only hear from people who have what we think we want to get. If we want love of God, then we'll hear from people who we think they have more love of God than we have. So Namanta Eva, put aside, as Prahladananda Saraswati Prabhupada said, Trinad, actually it starts with Trinad Heka, that I'm taking a straw between my teeth and flattering you 1,000 times, falling at your feet, oh great Mahatma. And then the Mahatma says, so-called Mahatma, yes, I can see you're an intelligent person. You have some proper understanding of reality. You're surrendering to the right supreme. So, now that you've become my devotee, how can I give you benedictions? What kind of blessings do you want? My dear sir, please take this book and give a donation, read the book, and all your crazy ideas will go out the window. So this Namanta Eva becomes submissive, but to what? Jivanti Gyane Priyasa Udapasta Namate. Put aside what we think is reality. Now our common experience is under the modes of material nature. So at least we should understand that we become affected by the material energy, and therefore we don't understand things properly. Now we may have so many ideas, but we just should not take them so seriously. We should understand that we've been put into a virtual reality, and this is the experience we're having. Now there's another reality that we're given an opportunity to experience also, if we want to make progress. So we have to put aside this so-called reality. We can't completely put it aside, put it the best we can, and then try to hear. Become submissive. But to who? Jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya varatam. Become submissive to those who know more about Krishna consciousness than we are, and who want to eventually what? Stane stita. While remaining in any material circumstances, stane stita shuti gata. Listen. So that's what we want people to simply come. To listen. They can hear the holy name, they can hear something of philosophy. Prabhupada wanted to make so many arrangements so that people could simply hear. Why? Because if we hear, we get some spiritual intelligence. And if we get some spiritual intelligence, then gradually we'll get the spiritual strength to actually utilize our body, mind, and words in Krishna's service. And if we do that, then the result is that Krishna will reciprocate with us. That is inevitable, that Krishna will reveal himself to us. So simply we're trying to get people at the beginning simply to come and hear. Now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada wanted to form a GBC body. So of course, one may wonder, well, why GBC? What's the difference between an Acharya and the GBC? Well, first of all, the difference is that that's what our Acharyas wanted. And why did they want it? For one reason is that it's not expected in the next 10,000 years, in every generation there'll be many, many Mahabhagavats, that the whole world will be filled with Mahabhagavats who are on the same level as Srila Prabhupada, who understand everything clearly. After all, how many of us have been born in Vaishnava families? Anyone here born in a Vaishnava family and raised from the beginning of life as a devotee?
Yes.
What's that? You were raised from the beginning? Yes. So, are you a perfect devotee?
No. Very tiny.
So it takes some training. In other words, that's ideal to be born in a family of devotees and throughout one's life cultivate Krishna consciousness. But still, there's a perfection that we're aiming at, and it doesn't come so easily. And what to speak when you have a worldwide movement with so many different cultures and personalities and so many different races and religious backgrounds of people there. So how is it possible that all over the world, all of a sudden, there's going to be all Mahabhagavats? But there must be a process becoming a Mahabhagavat. And what is the process? Hearing about Krishna. As I said before, at the beginning we get some knowledge. Anyone who's in the Hare Krishna movement for a few years, or a few months, or sometimes even a few days, they know so many things. They know they're not their body, they know about karma, how Krishna is God, They may even know that the source of the creation is Mahavishnu lying down the ocean, the causal ocean. So many things they know. So does that mean that everything's perfect now? Well, the next thing they do is have to understand some perspective. As Bhakti-Bhava Maharaj was saying in the class today, you know, Mahavishnu is lying down the causal ocean, and he's breathing out universes. Or as I heard, I wasn't here for the class, but Rahini Sutabru was saying that he mentioned in one class how Tama Krishna Maharaj was speaking to Srila Prabhupada one time. Tama Krishna Maharaj at that time, he was the temple commander in the Los Angeles temple, on La Cienega Boulevard. And Srila Prabhupada said that in the spiritual world there's a planet called Goloka Vrindavan. And it's so big that all the Vaikuntha planets could fit into Goloka Vrindavan. And each Vaikuntha planet is bigger than all the material universes put together. But sometimes in a little part of the spiritual sky, there's a little tiny cloud that forms. And in that cloud, Mahavishnu enters and lies down on the ocean of causal ocean. And from his body, he breathes out unlimited universes, more universes than there are grains of sand on the beach. That's quite a lot. And in each universe, he enters as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, and all those trillions and trillions of universes. And there he lies down as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. And in the smallest of all those universes, he lies down, and from his navel comes a four-headed person named Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, he manifests in the stem of that lotus that he's born from, unlimited planets that float like specks of dust in the air. And in one of those planets, it's called the Earth planet. And on that Earth planet, there are so many continents. And in those continents, there's one country called America. And in America, there's so many different states. One of them is called California. And in California, there are so many cities. One of them is called Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, there are so many streets, and then one of them is called La Cienega Boulevard. And in La Cienega Boulevard, there are so many houses, and one of them is called the Hare Krishna Temple. And the Hare Krishna Temple, there's one temple commander, and he's thinking he's controlling everything. So that's called perspective. So we have to gain this perspective, otherwise the knowledge can be taken quite superficially. Now what's the purpose of gaining perspective? Seeing things from Krishna's point of view. The idea of seeing things from Krishna's point of view, to inspire us to now I'm Krishna's tiny servant, now I should utilize my energies in the service of Krishna. And when we do that, then Krishna reciprocates with us, and we get transcendental experience. Krishna enlightens us, he shows us how he's the super soul in everyone's heart. He shows us how when we're serving him, that gradually he'll reciprocate and give us some transcendental happiness, some transcendental intelligence. And then we develop conviction. Yes, this is actually what I need to go forward in life, and this is what everyone else needs. And then when we have that conviction, then when we study our books, then we try to develop the skills to make further progress. And our skills of how to love Krishna more, how to serve Krishna more, especially the skills of interrelationships with the devotees. Cooperation is part of that skill. Now it's not an easy skill in Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. As Pragosh Guru was saying, I don't know if you know Pragosh, he was talking about, I can't repeat exactly the same story, but something like this, that two people were on vacation, and they met each other, and they asked, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Ireland. No, really? I'm also from Ireland. Really? Oh, I'm from Cork. No. How is that possible? I'm also from Cork. Yeah, I live in Shannon. Shannon, how is that possible? I also live in the same place. Yeah, I'm right by the church. He said, yeah, right. I'm right near the church also. Which church do you belong to? I'm part of the new Roman Catholic New Version coming from Cork. He said, wow, I'm also part of that also. No kidding. How is that? It's amazing. And we met each other here. And you know, which part of the revision of the church are you? Oh, I'm from the revisionist church. No, I'm also from the revisionist church, the revised church. Which year are you from? I'm from 1927. Which one are you from? I'm from 1940. And the guy from 1940 takes out a gun and shoots him. He says, you know, hypocrite, what do they call that? Infidel. Infidel, yes, infidel. He shoots him, infidel. Wrong revisionist year. So that's Kali Yuga. That even if there's the slightest difference, then people will fight to the death. So this cooperation is a sign of developing skill. Skill in loving relationships. Skill, the fact that our objective is to please Krishna. And to please Krishna includes pleasing Krishna's devotees. It's like trying to please someone, say Krishna is on the altar and you're doing pujari work. So while you're fanning Krishna, you're also stepping on his foot. Krishna will not be very pleased. So those who are at his lotus feet, we also have to try to cooperate with them. That's a skill. That's a further development of conviction. That I'm not simply Krishna's servant, but Gopi Bharata Pada Kamalayora, Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa. I'm the servant of the servant of the servants of Krishna. So that's the level that real Krishna consciousness can manifest itself. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Nishoshiti Nikamshati, Savak Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Madbhaktin Lavate Puram. When we give up our hankering and our lamentations, when we stop looking at everyone as a possible object of either gain or loss for my senses and my mind, my feelings, then we can actually start seeing everyone as Krishna's servant. And if we see everyone as Krishna's servant, then we can start the process of loving exchanges with them. Then our objectives are different. We can offer with love prasadam, and we can accept prasadam with love. We can tell people about Krishna and listen to them as they explain to us about Krishna. We can tell our realizations about Krishna to others, and we can hear other people's realizations, see their example, and appreciate it out of love. So once we develop skill, and we actually develop loving relations with the devotees, then ecstatic love for Krishna will manifest itself. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So the neophyte devotee, they see Krishna only in the temple, which is very nice. The intermediate devotee, which we're trying to come to the platform and we're given a chance to by the Hare Krishna movement, we don't need the movement to be neophyte devotees. We find in places like India, even people who don't necessarily take part in the Sankirtan movement, but in their homes they worship the deities. But to learn cooperation, to be challenged, to meet with different personalities and learn how to cooperate with them to please Krishna, that's quite a challenge. Therefore we love Krishna, but if we want to deepen our love for Krishna, then we have to learn how to cooperate with the devotees. We have to see the devotees as Ishvareta Dineshu, Bolisheshu, Vitsatsu cha, Prema, Maitri, Kripopeka, Yet Karoti, Samadhimaha. So for Ishvara there's Prema, but for the intermediate devotee, they see the Vaishnavas as representatives of Krishna. So they're able to transfer their prema to the devotees, their love to the devotees. So that is the development of skill. And by loving the devotees, then they'll see Krishna in the hearts of the devotees. If we don't love the devotees, we don't have a relation with the devotees, why would we have a relationship unless we saw Krishna within their heart? Unless we saw them in relation to Krishna and appreciated how their potential leads to please Krishna, or how they're pleasing Krishna. And unless we love the devotees, unless we can see the devotees in relation to Krishna, why will we bother making more devotees? Are we going to make more devotees so we can have more people to fight with? There's already enough devotees to fight with. We don't need any more. No, we make devotees because actually Krishna's, as we were reading today or hearing today from Bhakti Bhava Maharaj, that it's Krishna's desire that because he's unlimited, he wants to have unlimited relationships with everyone. So to please Krishna means to take part in helping the devotees become Krishna conscious, serving the devotees and help their development of Krishna consciousness. And then making others devotees also, who have the potential to become devotees. That everyone is a dormant devotee. And that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, is to help all of us, whether we're practicing to one level or another, to come to the platform of Krishna Prema, to develop real spiritual character. When we talk about character, we mean a prema bhakta, or to develop titikshava karunika surida sarvadevina dehina ajata shatava chanta surida, what's the last word? Sadhava Sadhabhushana. That's character, the Sadhava Sadhabhushana. We all have to develop that character. If we want to meet Krishna face to face, we have to develop from simply ordinary knowledge, which is also very important, the foundation, to get a firm foundation. And that will inspire us to see from the right perspective. And as we see things from the right perspective, then we'll become convinced. At one time, I was on Radha Damodar, and I had my own party, so I spent all the morning dropping everyone off at their spots. And then I went to my spot, and I started to distribute books. And somehow or another, my mind was quite agitated. I just didn't want to be there. So I figured, all right, I'll sit down and read. So I tried to read one of Prabhupada's books, and I couldn't read it. My mind was too agitated. So then I read the same paragraph again, and again, and again, and again, until finally I heard it, and it said, everyone is Krishna's eternal servant, and we should try to bring them back to the spiritual world. So I said, wow, that's why I'm here for. That's pretty simple. So then I went out and said, here, take this book. And people started to buy the book. Because I got conviction, what I realized what I was supposed to be doing there, and I got the conviction and the enthusiasm to do it, And then people started to buy the books. And when I was doing that, then I started realizing, there's like one time, my personal story, I was in Dallas, Texas, and I went from being the temple president to being the head cook. Actually, I went from the temple president to the treasurer to the head cook. And my assistant was, does anyone know who my assistant was when I became the head cook? Krishna Maharaj. Before he became a Maharaj or initiated. So in any case, I was the temple president, and I didn't disagree. Well, anyhow, so I became the Sankirtan leader first. But all my members of the Sankirtan party, they all left. And I was the only one left. And because I was also the treasurer, as well as the Sankirtan leader, therefore I knew we had to support the temple. So I had to go out by myself to Dallas, Texas, downtown Dallas. And Dallas, Texas was not, at that time, was not the most liberal place in the world. My first experience in distributing books in Dallas, Texas, is I went out with some devotees the first time. Immediately the police came and arrested us all and put us in jail. And they charged us with impersonating women because we were dressed in dhotis. And come Monday, because they particularly arrested us and put us in jail because it was the weekend, and we had to wait till Monday. So then the lady came to testify, but it was night, so she couldn't recognize us, so they let us off. In any case, Dallas was not my favorite place at that time to distribute books, especially myself. But I went out there anyhow, somehow or another I dragged myself out there. I knew I had to do it, it was my duty. And when I got out there, at least that time, everyone looked like they came from Vaikuntha. I mean, I was like shocked. I said, where am I? And every single person practically I handed the back to Godhead had a big smile on their face, immediately gave me a donation. So within a very short period of time, I distributed all my back, which was a considerable amount of back to Godhead. And I was just like amazed. I thought this was downtown Dallas, but it was actually Vaikuntha. And then as soon as I distributed all my back to Godhead, suddenly the whole atmosphere changed, and it's back to downtown Dallas. What I thought was downtown Dallas. So after that I realized I don't know where I am. Wherever I am is just my imagination, where I think I am. Actually, Vaikuntha was really where we are. But it depends on our consciousness. And Krishna just, for a little time, showed me that. So we need conviction, and that conviction is based upon experience. At least a little experience, a little higher taste, a little, then we know that there's something to achieve, something higher to strive for. And then after that, then we'll have to develop the skills in order to achieve that. The loving exchanges with Krishna, with Krishna's devotees, with ordinary people, bring them to make our life, to help the devotees, assist them, become Krishna conscious, and together work also to help the innocent. To make them into devotees, to bring them into Krishna's family. And then train them also to higher and higher stages. So eventually they get knowledge, they get perspective, they get conviction, they get transcendental skills, expertise, and pure devotional service, and they develop a saintly character. And they go out and make more devotees. So in that way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement expands, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Panchatattva, they dance in ecstasy, because the storehouse of love of God has been broken up, open, and the devotees are distributing the fruits to everyone. Then the whole world can become Vaikuntha. So, the idea is that everyone has to have the same idea, that to serve the acharyas and their mission is more important than serving our individual conceptions, desires, whatever, that the spirit of cooperation has to be there. Otherwise, the tendency is to always have some kind of division. That's Kali Yuga, that's material nature. When I joined the movement, to be prestigious, you had to be a temple president. Actually, the first thing was you had to become initiated. And Prabhupada was quite liberal in initiation, so many devotees got initiated. But then the real thing was, you had to become a Brahmin. If you were Brahmin, then you had, you were elevated. Otherwise, you were just, an ordinary initiated devotee. And then after you became a Brahmin, then you had to have your own temple. Then you were actually elevated. And then if you have a temple with a big car, then you were, you're practically halfway to Vaikuntha. And then, the next step was to become a sannyasi, at least for the men. And then if you became a sannyasi, then, actually at that time GBC wasn't so important. But it was some importance. Then there was another ornament to put on. Then becoming a GBC. So now I practically have everything. So what's the next thing? Shakta avatar. Shakta Vesh avatar. Only time separates me. And what was the result of everyone striving to compete with each other in that way? Generally, there were some disagreements, believe it or not. Devotees, even in the early times, they used to disagree with each other. And some of those disagreements were quite, quite interesting disagreements. I remember that when I came to, at that time, Vishnu Jan Maharaj, he had just become a Maharaj. Vishnu Jan, before that, was like a hero in the movement. He was going out every day doing Harinam, and everyone loved his kirtans. And at least at that time, he was my hero also. So then, I had the opportunity to meet him in New Vrindavan in 1969. Maybe it was 1970. And at that time, there was some difficulty going on in Los Angeles. I remember I got on the phone, I was in Buffalo at that time. In Buffalo, we had a telephone. But no one ever used the telephone because we didn't have the money to pay for the telephone. So very rarely did anyone ever speak on the telephone. But at this time, the telephone rang, and believe it or not, I actually answered it, which was quite unusual for devotees to answer telephones at that time. So I answered the telephone, and the devotee was Aravinda, who I knew, and he said, Srila Prabhupada wants to talk to Rupanuga. Could you get Rupanuga? So I got Rupanuga. I mean, Prabhupada, I don't know how many times he talked on the telephone. It's quite unusual. So then he talked on the telephone, and Rupanuga seemed quite shocked. And then he told me that he's going out to Los Angeles, and I'm now the temple president of Buffalo. Which was quite interesting, but that's a whole other story. So he left to go there, and at that time Prabhupada gave, I think, 4 devotees sannyas, and he formed the GBC body. So then, they went to New Vrindavan. We all met in New Vrindavan. New Vrindavan is actually quite far from LA. There were sannyasis, but we all, around, at that time, maybe 100 devotees were in the movement, and practically the whole devotee community came to LA because the sannyasis were going there. And so we went there for Janmashtami, and I met Vishnu Jan Maharaj for the first time, and I asked him some questions. And he gave me the answers. I was completely bewildered after he gave me the answers. I was completely confused, but why is he saying such ridiculous things? Because I had some basis of the philosophy. And then we had a first class I gave, and Prahladananda, one of the sannyasis, stood up and said that actually Prabhupada had left for Japan because we didn't understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we offended him. So I thought, this is ridiculous. I wasn't in the mood to stand up, because at that time the sannyasis were, you didn't challenge sannyasis. There were only 5 of them in the movement at that time. In any case, some devotees did challenge them. They called it Prabhupada and said, they're preaching that you're a God. Prabhupada said, this is Mayavadi philosophy. And GBC at that time told them to leave. So they left, and then they went to Detroit. And from Detroit, they came down to, they hitchhiked and walked down to Miami, where I met them again. And of course, eventually everything became rectified. I met Vishnu Jan Maharaj there, and I met Prahladananda. Prabhupada had asked me to open a temple, so they decided I'm going to open a temple in Florida. So I went there to join them and open a temple there. In any case, there was disagreement. Of course, when I met there, Prahladananda Maharaj at that time, the others were quite repentant that they had made a mistake and maybe they were misunderstood. But even in those days, there were such disagreements that Prabhupada even had to have 4 sannyasis leave the movement temporarily. So that's the nature of the age of Kali Yuga. But Prabhupada, from the very beginning, that's what he really worked on, is to get the devotees to cooperate, to serve the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to go out, distribute books together, do Harinam together, distribute prasadam together, talk to people together, perform the same mission, and in that way learn how to cooperate with each other. Get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that eventually we can actually see that everyone is a very dear servant of Krishna, especially those devotees. The more they're engaged in Krishna service, fulfilling his desire, the more it becomes obvious that they're actually very dear to Krishna. That way our movement can actually become successful. But if our movement doesn't bring people, if we're not learning to cooperate with each other to fulfill the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we're not trying to give knowledge, transcendental knowledge to people in general, bring them so they can hear about Krishna, if we're not trying to give people a perspective of how to see things properly, educate them, train them, engage them in Krishna service, help them develop the skills and the qualities necessary to become a pure devotee, then our movement will remain very small and we won't be properly utilizing the opportunity we have to fulfill the desires of our acharyas, of Srila Prabhupada and his assistants, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and actually have Krishna, allow Krishna to reveal the entire science of Krishna consciousness to us. Maybe we've gotten a little bit of Krishna consciousness, and it's very nice, but we should be anxious to give that little bit to others, and also to develop more and more transcendental happiness ourselves by fulfilling the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his acharyas. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Well, yes.
How can we see devotees in ISKCON as dear servants of Krishna when they do some really abominable things?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we should understand that Krishna is everyone is very dear to Krishna by nature. That's why Krishna has come as the super soul and is trying to bring them to Krishna consciousness. So if one has gotten some experience in Krishna consciousness and he did something abominable, of course we know the verse, Apiche Sudaracharo Bhajante Mam Ananyava, that even if he does something which is not considered to be proper, but if he keeps on engaging in devotional service, it's to be understood that that's not what Krishna is looking for. He's looking for the fact that the person has repented and is engaged in devotional service again. So due to the influence of the material nature, first of all, someone may fall down and we may think, oh, this person's fallen. He's a rascal. But that's considering we are actually so elevated, so pure, so realized that we can afford to do something that our great devotees don't do, to criticize people because they had some difficulty, as if we have no difficulty. Our minds are always purely absorbed in the mellows of love of God. And even for a moment the mind deviates, immediately it comes back. Even in dreams we don't think of anything else but pure love for Krishna. So when we get to that platform, yes, we can criticize others. But until we get to that platform, we should be a little reluctant to criticize someone because they have displayed something which is not approved. Yes?
My question was more in a social, judicial light, because sometimes some devotees do some really bad things, and then they are banned from, and then they are accepted in some other place, and then some devotees do little bad things, and then they get great social reaction in our society.
Yeah, that requires some. Prabhupada said, if our society is going to be successful, when Giriraj Maharaj in Prabhupada's last final pastimes asked Prabhupada, how can we keep this movement together? And Giriraj Maharaj said, maybe by chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada asked Giriraj Maharaj, how are we going to keep our society together after I leave? And Giriraj Maharaj said, maybe by chanting Hare Krishna, etc., etc. Prabhupada said, no, organization and intelligence. So we have to have some kind of organization, which appropriately, according to Guru Sadhana Shastra, according to Prabhupada's example and instructions, how to deal with different circumstances. We have to become instruments for the authority, for the acharyas. And if we're not deeply absorbed in service to the acharyas, then we'll be acting according to our material emotions. And everyone has different material emotions and experiences. Therefore, there'll be great variety in how we deal with people, especially devotees who are having some difficulty. Anything else? Yes.
Guru je kazao da bi mi trebali gledati stvari iz Krišnine perspektive, pokušati gledati stvari. A mene to sad zanima kako da mi to napravimo, da se ne identificiramo s Krišnom i onda pomislimo da smo i sami Bog, što se dešava i Maja radi.
You said that we should try to see things from Krishna's perspective, but how not to identify with Krishna if we start to look from that perspective, because there's the trap that Mayavadis have.
Well, if you can see everything that Krishna sees, then you must be the super soul. I mean, we can understand a little bit about Krishna's perspective, but it's very unlikely we're going to be able to see out through everyone's heart, become the super soul in everyone's heart. So if you can do that, then all obeisances to you is the super soul. You must be all-pervading. But we want to see something from Krishna's perspective, not the whole thing. That's not possible. Krishna tells us how to see from his perspective in the Bhagavad Gita. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavihastani Shuni Chaiva Svapake Cha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with an equal vision the learned and gentle Brahman, the cow, the dog, and the dog eater. So that's seeing from Krishna's perspective, from the pure devotee's perspective, who sees from Krishna's perspective that everyone is Krishna's eternal servant and I should help them become Krishna conscious. That's seeing things from Krishna's perspective. Yes.
Ali, da li mi trebamo gledati, recimo, i obično ljudi oko nas, koji smo nazivali karmin, roditelji, šta ja znam, mislim, baš kao sluge i to meni baš nije jasno. Jer je Pričin bio ono prije kakav je i sad meni nije jasno da li baš ono svakog moram gledati.
What I don't understand is that should we try to see every single person, even the people whom we call karmis, as the eternal servant of Krishna and as a servant and servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord? I don't understand that.
No, of course, how can you understand that? Because it's not our philosophy. Part of it is our philosophy. Everyone is Krishna's eternal servant. But that doesn't mean that everyone is equally serving Krishna in the same way. Just like everyone may be a citizen of Serbia, but it's not that every Serbian citizen is serving the government in the same way. Some of them are in jail, some of them are at the university, some of them are in the hospital. So there are different Serbian citizens, they're all Serbian citizens, but not all of them have the same relation with the government. Just like we understand the animals are also Krishna servants. So we offer obeisances to devotees, but we don't go into the zoo and go into the lion's cage and offer him obeisances. We understand he's also Krishna's servant, but we treat him in a different way. And if you don't believe me, try it. Go to the zoo, offer obeisances. My dear tiger, let me embrace you. You're Krishna's eternal servant. I'm sorry I offended you. I thought you were just a tiger, but I know that you're actually Krishna's servant. Anything else?
Yeah, I have one question, Maharaj. One of your points was also, if we want to come from Kanishta platform to Madhyama, we need to develop some skills. As I understand it, it's a matter of purification, of our purification. What did you mean by these skills? I don't know, something mundane, like, I don't know, you have some books where they teach you non-violent communication or something like that?
No, this is transcendental knowledge and discrimination. These skills are given by Krishna from within the heart on the basis of our Tesham, Satam, Yuktanam, Vajatam, Priti Purvakam, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Yena Mam Upayanti Te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, then I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. So Krishna gives us the intelligence, not only we can bring ourselves back to Krishna, but how to bring others back to Krishna too. So if you want to see what those skills are, just read some of Prabhupada's conversations and his activities how we attracted people to Krishna, or tried to. Those are the transcendental skills. Yes. By the way, is there someone who's supposed to be giving a seminar right now? Right, reading? What's that? He's now in Croatia.
So this means that it's miss.
Okay. I don't know. You have a question?
Because there are transcendental skills, so should we then also just ignore some material skills? There are transcendental skills. Does that mean that we should just ignore some material skills like learning how to drive a car or something?
Not necessarily. But if you have to, it's good to know how to drive a car. So you can utilize that in Krishna service. So anything utilized in Krishna service is also a it becomes spiritualized because it's being done for Krishna. But those skills, even if you don't know how to drive, you can still go back to the spiritual world.
Thank you.
But I'm happy some devotees know how to drive. From here to Zagreb is quite a long walk. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Grandaraj, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.